Okay, awesome. So nice to meet you finally, Luke. Why
You as
don't you
well.
tell me a little about yourself, what your plans are for 2018, and how we can help each other grow our businesses?
Certainly. So, a little bit about me. I currently am the host of the Cult of Startup podcast,
Mhm,
and I started that roughly about a year and a half ago
mhm.
with the primary goal of meeting other entrepreneurs. I develop a network through other startups I founded, and I enjoyed listening to podcasts. I figured, well, why not do one on my own? And it's been a great blessing to me because I've networked through it. I've learned a lot through it. It's actually enabled me to help my clients better because there's certain pieces of knowledge that I can glean from other entrepreneurs that apply to companies I'm doing work for.
Mhm.
And it's fun. And it's called Cult of Startup. I got a new website coming out here soon. So that'd be pretty cool. In addition to that, I run a small agency that does website, a little bit of mobile development, and we've actually seen a lot of work come within the social media marketing space
Mhm.
as well as the design space. And that part of my business has exploded in 2017. And I think you asked also sort of my goals for 2018. And it really is to grow that end of the business and help my clients grow their businesses and add a couple of people on top of that and also have the satisfaction of hiring employees here soon.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, you said that you guys deal with mobile development. What kind of
Mhm.
mobile development? Are we talking about mobile websites or are we talking about apps?
Apps, but that part of our business has gone from a big chunk to really next to nothing right now.
How come?
Um, a handful of reasons. Mobile app development is really tough. I feel like, at least maybe I struggled with it as a manager in pricing appropriately.
Okay,
The cost to build a native app is still extremely high.
okay.
And the marketplace for clients that are willing to pay that high ticket item is actually relatively small. Some other people may not have the same experience, but myself personally, that's what I felt. And I
Mhm.
saw that social media marketing was something that was definitely needed in a couple of spaces. I said, you know what? I'm going to double down on this. I feel
Mhm.
confident in it. It's more creative, which is more my main vein,
Mhm.
and I enjoyed it more. I was like, hey, this jives me more than anything else. So I'm I'm definitely a how should I say practitioner of doing what you're good at, and I
Mhm.
stuck with that.
Okay, and what does your startup do exactly?
So the agency, we've built a handful of e-commerce websites,
Mhm.
and then we manage all of their social media. So we help them in brand management, making sure that all their ads are running at the right times. We do calendars for them. We schedule everything out for the entire year. We anticipate growing pains. An
Mhm.
example of that would be I have a client who's in the Western fashion space where she needed an inventory management system. So I started looking for potential inventory management systems for her to implement because she was selling both on her wholesale side, but also on her website. And there was nothing that would sync the backend that we were using
Okay.
originally. It was all on Excel sheets, so it was terrible. So we'd actually sell like 30 shirts online. We had actually sold them all in wholesale. So we don't have the inventory at the time. So you're making two customers unhappy at the same time, and we try to avoid that situation by building an inventory management system or implementing one, not necessarily building one.
Okay, so currently you're doing mostly one-stop shop. Now the
Mm-hmm.
question is, I reckon that this might be a very big headache because you deal with a lot of things at the same time, like inventory management on the one hand, CRM, ERP, plus social media marketing, building a
Mm-hmm.
website, or even mobile development.
Mm-hmm.
So, wouldn't you say that it might take too much of your time and that should be spent somewhere else, or or are you happy with that and you're just going to create some kind of a subsidiary down and down the line that deals with um, like some kind of like enterprise management on the one hand, and on the other you deal with smaller businesses and medium businesses?
We definitely want to specialize eventually, but when you're a company within, I would say, at least even in my podcast, that usually within the first 1 to 3 years, you
Mhm.
don't have the opportunity to really specialize unless that's an area that you've done for a number of years prior to starting the company. So
Mhm.
for me, it's like, well, I took whatever client I possibly could. And only now, at least a year and a half into it, I'm actually seeing the fruits of, hey, social media management, doing marketing for people, measuring that marketing, as well as defining their brand online is something I'm pretty good at. I found that's something I enjoy a lot. So, how should I say this? I think it's tough for an entrepreneur to come to that point because an entrepreneur really wants to do everything at all points in time and have all this control. And I've learned that doing that mindset actually sets you up for failure pretty good. You can't be all things to everybody. You're at that point, you're really nothing to nobody or anybody at that point. So it's better to sort of pick a niche and get rich rather than to sort of try to do a little bit of everything. And like the inventory management thing, like that's something that now we know how to implement, now we know how to do, but is it something that I always want to do? And in onboarding new clients, let's say in the e-commerce space, I'll probably tell them, hey, you need to set up a system like this. If you want us to do it for you, it's going to cost this much, but we'd rather manage this side of it.
Yeah, most probably because implementation takes time and it also creates the need for training. And unless you are willing to hire personnel to do that, it's going to become difficult. Now, do you mostly work with clients in the States, or do you work with clients from all around the world?
So my main clients I have are in the States, even though one of them currently lives in Dubai right now.
Okay.
He's technically an American citizen, I believe. So he has like a U.S. passport and all that stuff, but his company is based here. Okay. So I guess I could say I have international clients, but not quite yet.
How do you deal with implementation outside of your comfort zone? Because where are you guys based?
I'm based in San Luis Obispo, California, which is basically halfway between San Francisco and Los Angeles, right on the coast.
Okay, so most of your clients are in the greater California area?
Correct.
Oh, okay. So I thought for a moment that you deal with clients mostly in the States, and then I was like, wait a minute, how do you implement those kind of intricate systems without being there?
Yeah. But well, I mean, it's easy to work remote these days. I mean, most of my work is from my home office. I have an office that's in the downtown here at a co-working space, and I also go to coffee shops a lot. And I have miscellaneous employees sort of speckled throughout the States and a couple that are actually based in Singapore. And so I do manage that. And it's, how should I say this? I do have late evenings sometimes because I'm meeting up with them between 9 o'clock to midnight and sort of going over the next day's tasks to implement before morning. So, okay, well, here's the ad copy that we're going to use. Here are the advertisements we're going to deploy. Here's the goals that we're setting for tomorrow. If anything else, hits the fan before the morning, send me a message. And if you really need to get a hold of me, just ring me and my phone will be on.
Okay. Now, you said you were outsourcing because I suppose those employees you have in Singapore are mostly outsourced. Now, do you think that outsourcing is one of the reasons why you don't do mobile app development anymore? Is it because some of the production has switched to Eastern Europe or Southeast Asia, and it's just not lucrative anymore to do it in the States?
Well, the cost to sort of start a company and doing mobile development here is difficult because developers, at least in California, like the going rate is at least 75 to 150 an hour, easily, because you've got all these big tech companies that can suck them up and pay that high ticket value, and it doesn't matter to them.
Okay, so because of the Silicon Valley, San Fran, and other places like that, it makes no sense to do it anymore. And if you need to work with enterprise kind of clients, which again, they don't really find necessary, I suppose, because they can just, walk over to Samsung or LG, something like that, or Google, and just talk to them and tell them, okay, I need this kind of app or something. Can we do something together? I reckon. Now, you were saying, naturally, you're in the same sphere as we are, which Epinu is, social media marketing in general. Now, I suppose you saw my post about what's going on with Facebook and the recent changes. And I was wondering, what do you think of the recent changes?
Well, I think...
Let me just, make it clearer. Are you more into organic marketing or more into promoted marketing?
I do think with Facebook, and this has been said for a number of years, that it's going to become more of a pay-to-play model.
Mm-hmm.
Any platform, the initial sort of onset, those who are smart marketers get onto it and abuse it, and then eventually a system gets implemented that's going to be a pay-to-play, right? And Facebook's maturing towards that. I think just at least with the political atmosphere that's going on here in the US, I understand why Facebook might be adjusting those kind of things. I think this is definitely a reactionary thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a stab at marketers. It just happens to impact those who are marketing on that social media platform. So aside from all that sort of political stuff, I would say that this next year, those who are trying to produce marketing on Facebook need to really, really focus on creating engaging content and stuff that catches people's eyes. I had a podcast guest at one point who was the founder of a company called Shareability, and he talked all about creating content that people are willing to react to and then go, I got to tell somebody else about this. And oftentimes, I think Facebook, you'd see people going, oh, here's this engagement bait, tag a friend for this. That kind of stuff is not going to be allowed anymore, and you're going to get downranked on your page, and all that stuff is going to impact you just by doing that. You're going to need to come up with something, I don't know if more genuine is the word I would use, but something that actually catches their eyes and goes, wow, I really want to talk to somebody about this, or somebody else needs to see this or know about this. Mm-hmm. And I at least know with one of my brands, I'm happy that they already have this, but they have a really good wow factor with all of their designs. So their fashion is like, oh, who's that? We recognize who that is. That's so-and-so. So I'm excited to work with them. And also another thing that I've seen with Facebook, and I'm sure you've read the main news article that they released about it, video is going to be king. I think it already kind of is on Facebook, and we're not doing a ton of it. But I think video is really where you need to go, especially live video in 2018. It at least should be a part of your mix. Like I wouldn't ignore it if I was a company.
Okay. So to my understanding, you have a similar point of view to what both Cornelia Pauline and this is Lava Dobriva were talking about, that 2018 is going to be the year of the personal brand, most probably. But the question is, what about larger brands? What I mean is that when it comes to larger brands, the main problem is that they really can't enjoy organic exposure anymore. So how would larger brands deal with that without spending too much money on the one hand, or smaller brands, not personal ones, but 3 to 5 people, small businesses and startups, how will they be able to enjoy organic exposure when they're told you can't enjoy organic exposure? Besides, founding Facebook groups and doing exactly what Facebook doesn't want you to do, which is monetizing groups.
I think it's going to be really hard to pull off. I think anybody who's getting into the game right now that doesn't have a substantial page, that initial growth up curve is going to be extremely difficult. Instagram cracked down eventually on you doing how many followers you could do per minute or per 10 minutes or whatever it is, and how many you could unfollow, and sort of growth hack your way to getting a lot of followers on your account. You're just going to have to be more creative. So that said, I know I recently went to a growth hacking conference here in Los Angeles, and one of the speakers was Julius Dean, who's got somewhere north of about 10 million people following him on Instagram, and I think he's got around 4 or 5 million on Facebook. And he's blatantly said, he said, if you've got entertaining and engaging content that people like, and it creates some sort of emotional reaction, he said, I could easily, leverage a handful of other pages and get back up to my following it, within a relatively short period of time. So I think it comes down to how creative you are, as well as the network connections you have.
Okay. Now, another question about it.
Sure.
Funny thing, it sounds, paradoxical to some degree, is that on the one hand, Facebook were stating that what they want to do is connect the community on the one hand, and, kill organic exposure for brands. On the other hand, they tell you that we're going to jack up prices, and if you want exposure, you're going to need to pay for it. So wouldn't it create a feed that is full of ads, even more ad-ridden, and less value for organic users?
Oh, it certainly could. I don't think we fully understand the impacts of what Facebook's going to do. It usually takes a couple months before the marketers kind of figure out, oh, here's the trending thing that you should do within that social media platform. And I think it's interesting. You've probably seen this before where there's a blog post about something. You go, you know what? That's a tactic they were using about 2 years ago. That doesn't exist anymore. Like you can't rig the system by doing that, to gain followers or to gain attention or something like that. And I think the engagement bait is the most recent example. So from that Facebook article, so maybe you could link to this in your video that you post, but that they said they had a thing with the engagement bait and then listed out all of these things that actually were the criteria for engagement bait. But going back to your question, which was mainly about how, what is it going to be like? The model you said is going to increase in cost for attention, right? But there's one other thing that you mentioned in that I can't quite remember.
Yeah. So what I was asking is because they're going to jack up prices, because it makes sense, because now they're going to tell you no organic exposure, ergo there's more demand, ergo there's less supply, ergo prices go up. On the one hand, they say that they want to kill organic exposure for pages, for business pages and whatnot. On the other, which means that businesses won't be able to create engaging content anyway unless they pay for it. Now, if they do that, wouldn't it mean that the platform is going to be even more ad-ridden than it is today, which actually kills the value of using the system in the first place?
I think that's definitely something that we should not rule out. However, Facebook, a majority of their money comes from ad spend. From that that's produced there. So if your company is converting, so let's say they have a high ROAS on the ads that they're actually producing, I don't see why Facebook would eventually downturn or extremely jack up the prices on those pages that are actually creating more money for them. I mean, you're paying to get attention, but your attention obviously from their analytics is showing, well, for every dollar that X company is putting in, they're getting $4 in return. I think as long as you've got that would be my sort of gauge of the pulse during 2018. It's like, okay, if things are still converting, Facebook likes us. But if things aren't converting, Facebook definitely doesn't like this.
Okay. Do you think that in the future, Facebook is going to do something along the lines of, once you already posted your live video, once it's finished, do you think that every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes they're going to put an ad inside, like infomercials and stuff like that? Is it going to be the future of, fighting for real estate that doesn't exist anymore on Facebook because it's already both on, the right-hand side and native and whatever. So it's going to show up in, like personal live videos that have good traction?
Yeah, I think it definitely could. But as of right now, I think it's only specific accounts that have opted into being able to have those videos show up between, like, a mid-roll ad kind of thing. I do think Facebook is eventually going to adopt it probably universally for everybody. YouTube has it. I think Facebook's approach is significantly unique in the sense that it's like sort of partway through a video and they're probably testing specific moments over and over and refining that process of like, okay, a minute 30 versus 3 minutes and 20 seconds or something like that as to which is the optimal time to throw an ad in to go, okay, well, I'll wait 6 seconds to get through this. So I do think that there will be a definite increase in that in the future. But, and also you said something really interesting that I want to sort of maybe even talk about a little bit, but that Facebook is trying to create more real estate, essentially. So they've got, X, Y, and Z space that you can purchase as an advertiser or marketer. So adding that sort of mid-roll advertisement to a video is more real estate, more money for Facebook. And I think they'll continue to roll out with new ways that you can market or remarket to people in specific areas or zones of that platform. So I know at least like one thing I've noticed is articles right now, I've seen our advertisements show up in those all the time. So if somebody clicks on a New York Times article, halfway through, you'll see our clothing brand if you looked at our page or looked at our Facebook.
Well, I don't know if you, I see you use LinkedIn quite a lot. What do you think was the main reason that actually LinkedIn jacked up organic exposure while Facebook, killed it?
Yeah. Good question. I'd say LinkedIn it's an old platform, but it's relatively a new platform when it comes to people deploying content on a consistent basis. I've been active on LinkedIn quite a bit, at least in the last few months. And looking back through history, it only seems to be like in the last 12 months that there's been this huge up curve or an upswing of people creating content and wanting to be on LinkedIn and being engaged on LinkedIn, and that you're following on LinkedIn matters. And it's not just a place to kind of see other people. It's become sort of hey, this is a serious part of your mix, and you as an individual brand. It matters a lot. So I keep saying that. So LinkedIn organic reach is huge. I know I post videos now and I'm getting like 3,000 to 4,000 views on them. And they're just a little video audio clip, and that I just started a couple months ago doing this. So I think, as well as with Facebook engagement or LinkedIn engagement groups, that definitely benefits as well. And I've actually met a lot of people through my network on that become podcast guests. So I think you're sort of seeing this uptake of marketers and people who really want to be engaged on LinkedIn and do a lot of stuff on it. And I think probably within about 3 to 6 months, you might see this sort of correction in the market. And then that's going to sort of be the main vein of like the stable piece of LinkedIn for the next few months.
Okay. Now, do you think that small businesses and startups, the ones that are really affected by the lack of organic exposure, might actually roam to LinkedIn instead of using Facebook? Do you think that might be the future?
Say that one more time, because you kind of broke up for a little bit.
Okay. So I was asking, do you think that small businesses and startups, the ones that are super affected by the fact that there is no organic exposure on Facebook anymore, will roam to LinkedIn?
It depends on the business. I'd say, at least with my clients, they're mainly in the fashion space. LinkedIn is a definite mismatch unless I'm maybe looking for a supplier or a manufacturer, or maybe a growth hacker or some specific developer. It'd be more of like operational things I'd look for on LinkedIn, but not necessarily to sell.
Okay. So
I guess maybe you could say wholesale might work on LinkedIn. So let's say I want to sell to, I don't know, Dillard's, which is a big retailer here in the US. I might find the head of operations for wholesale at Dillard's through LinkedIn and do a warm introduction to that.
Yeah, so probably, it depends on the space. But do you think that LinkedIn would continue serving mostly B2B clients and, like be a professional one? Or they might create some kind of subsidiary that would rival Facebook?
I think they'll stick to what they're good at. I think the companies that try to really create a subsidiary that would be a direct competition to something like a Facebook, it's a terrible idea unless you're really creating a new category, at least from a marketing standpoint. What is it? It would be a Me Too product. This is our social network. I think LinkedIn sees that professionals are engaged on their platform, and I think they're going to say, well, we'll milk this for what it's worth, dealing with professionals. And it's been kind of nice, and I think you've maybe seen this as well, is that LinkedIn, like, people are genuine on LinkedIn. I don't feel like LinkedIn has that kind of crap that you find on Instagram or Facebook or other social media platforms. Like, people who've come to LinkedIn have signed up with the intention of showing off what their business background is.
Yeah.
It's a completely different mindset than a Facebook, which is more about sharing who you are with your family and your friends and your experiences and stuff like that. And I think you're seeing sort of like a Venn diagram where a little bit of that's kind of floating in between. And I think the sweet spot is sort of staying to the right side of what LinkedIn is, just a little bit, allowing. I know I saw somebody recently post something about their kids on LinkedIn, which is kind of out of the ordinary. But what they mentioned is, hey, I have my own business and I'm working towards my goals for my family. And then talked all about how each action that they take in their business is working towards their family. So I said, okay, that's a great way to sort of blend what would be on Facebook into LinkedIn.
Do you think we're going to see more of those kind of posts? Because I did see, I think we're talking about the same person, we're not going to mention the name of
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
But I did see that there was huge impact
Mhm.
for that post. Do you think people would start duplicating it on LinkedIn?
Until LinkedIn downvotes it, yeah, I definitely think they would.
To
If I
some
if I was a if I was a marketer and I saw something like that and it looked like it was working, no shame in rinse, wash, and repeat with that kind of stuff.
because I'm seeing this on Facebook all the time, and
Yeah.
people brag about the fact that they actually, are able to entice people
Mhm.
buy something from them based on that kind of posts. So the question is this like something new? Is this like a new template that people are using? Or is this, like a passing fling and, it would just
Mhm.
disappear down the line?
I would say it's something that people are testing.
Most
So, yeah, people are testing it out. A lot of the LinkedIn marketing stuff that I've read, and
Mhm.
I've gone to a handful of thought leaders and looked through a lot of their content, and they're still testing right now. Like they're still sort of trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work on LinkedIn. I mean, you know some of the big sort of influencers on LinkedIn, and they're only at 50 to 100 videos in total. Let's say they're relatively infinite in their content. And there's people who've been doing videos for 4 or 5 years, and have 300 to 400 videos on Facebook. So I think we're still in that kind of layer of figuring it out and what works and what doesn't work, as well as what's acceptable and not acceptable on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So people are still, like trying out the system, as they say. Uh, Now, what do you think? What are your views regarding Google Plus? Is there ability? Yeah, I know. It's funny. Everyone thinks it's funny. But I did see many people, many great marketers talking about Google Plus being an amazing place from which you can derive tons of leads for your business. Now,
Really? Okay.
do you think there might be a renaissance in Google Plus, and this is the only reason why Google doesn't even kill it yet?
Potentially, it hasn't gone away for a reason. I would say that. So if Google's keeping it up, they're not keeping it up just for the sake of having it there. This reminds me of a book called Traction. I don't know if you read it or not, but it's one of my favorite marketing books of all time. But the authors of it talk about finding an area within a specific space that's underserved by other brands.
Mhm.
And that sounds like something that is exactly that. You can find leads through Google Plus because nobody's trying to find traffic on Google Plus. Like, I think it's a great strategy. I know for a long time it was Instagram direct messages was super underutilized by people.
Yeah.
Like nobody was sending messages on Instagram. They had it there, but nobody was using it. But those who were getting connected to high-end influencers or specific people they want to have on their podcasts or in their videos, etc. simply by doing that. I think it all comes down to like, at what point is that space going to be crowded within the communication between people before people jump ship? I know right now I probably have like 50 messages within LinkedIn that I haven't replied to yet. Like, it's getting crowded for me already. So I need to find a way that I can sort of filter through those a little bit easier. And their messaging thing, at least on desktop, is horrific. It is clunky. It's terrible. It drives me nuts.
No, it would take time until it becomes better. I mean, it's very nice that it's like semi-automated. Like
Mm-hmm.
someone sends you something and you can like give them a thumbs up or say thanks or say sounds good and things like
Yep.
that. Do you think that this is some kind of predecessor for let's call it a virtual assistant within LinkedIn?
Yeah, I think just like any other social media platform, you're going to see chatbots and that stuff get incorporated into these platforms in some way or another. And I think LinkedIn's strategy, or at least their mindset on having, you can do that quick response without having to think about it. I know I sent you a message the other day and you just sent me a thumbs up, and I was like, that was definitely, one of the three choices that they gave him. It was thank you, thumbs up, and sure. Like, easy to reply, quick, swift. And I think that's definitely catering to sort of the business personality that exists on LinkedIn. People are busy. They don't have time for everything. So might as well give them an opportunity to instantly respond or to say thank you for like an endorsement. And that's like one of the easiest ways to sort of jam up a conversation with somebody.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It reminds me of, when you get like someone calling you and you can
Hmm.
say that you don't want to receive the call, and then you have like
Yeah.
automated messages. So it's
Hmm.
almost like that. It's like, uh, congrats on the new,
Hmm.
uh, on your job anniversary, which is completely automated anyway,
Hmm.
because everyone uses it. And then you have like an automated response. But
Yep.
the question is, um, if you think that it
Hmm.
becomes smarter over time, or it's going to be something like that, and you'll just have to put chatbots into the mechanism itself to make it look better. Question is, do you think that it's going to stay like that and
Hmm.
might get better somewhat, or is it going to be like a complete chatbot system afterwards? Maybe use something like through Microsoft, some kind of combination between that and LinkedIn.
I'd say a hybrid model. I don't see it going all entirely one way. LinkedIn, I think the biggest benefit that you have on it, and we discussed this a little bit earlier, is that people are real. They have an intention to be on LinkedIn. And removing that, I think, removes sort of the mojo of what LinkedIn actually offers to its customers.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds interesting. Um, well, I wanted to ask you more. Yeah.
No rush, I'll take a sip of my mate here.
Oh yeah, sure, sure. Enjoy it. Enjoy your latte. Now, do you think that well, wow, I'm tapped out. I'm tapped out completely. I think this is one of the most, fast-paced conversations I had here on Growth Talk, in general.
I
Uh,
do podcasting, so I'm used to like rapid fire answering.
it is rapid fire. Usually,
But yeah, I'd say maybe something for you. What has been sort of successful for you on LinkedIn? I mean, we've talked about what other people have done, but let's talk about things that we've done that we've seen
well,
successful.
you know what? I'm surprised that I wrote such such provocation on LinkedIn with my latest post, and I was surprised that within 36 hours or so, I had over 8,000 impressions for it. I mean,
Wow,
this
that's
is
great.
that's like amazing. You know what? Let me see how much I actually have right now. Let's see. Okay,
Pull up your LinkedIn
8,000
account and I'll look at it too.
8,054. That's remarkable. That is remarkable. Let me see if I can share the screen here. Yeah. Can you see? It's like,
Yeah.
I can't believe, first of all, I can't believe I wrote this. I really hate Mark Zuckerberg. And then I hate the new Facebook change with a passion.
Hmm.
Mark, don't hate me. This isn't against you.
Hmm.
But it's like 80,054 views within,
Yeah.
now it says 2 days, but it hasn't been 48 hours just
Yeah.
yet. And it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm like, wow.
The 26 likes, 10 comments, and
Yeah.
8,000 views. That's a lot.
And the funny part is that it says 10 comments, but it doesn't include all the replies to the same comment. I have like 30,
Yeah.
30 or 40 people that actually wrote something. Now, most of the people that
Mhm.
were talking about it, there are like two camps. One camp is like super PPC oriented one, which
Mhm.
tell me that I'm talking rubbish, and the other one understands what I'm talking about in general.
Mhm.
And it's like, do you think that there really are two camps? One that is like super pay promotion oriented, and there is another that understands the benefit of using organic traffic?
Oh, for sure. I think marketers have understood that for years. There's a reason why you can pay for stuff, and there's a reason why you can't pay for stuff. And I think those who execute organic well and then add a layer of paying for it, those are the ones who are the real champions.
Yeah, I always say that what you should use paid advertisement as a complementary tool to organic traffic. I mean, this is the only reason why both
Yeah.
Google and Bing didn't kill, organic traffic just yet. They use that as an asset. And this is what people need to understand, in my opinion.
Well, here I got a quick example of this. So one of my clients, she sells fashion online, and she has a kid line. And I noticed in the data on Facebook that anything that we posted about kids clothing, like, went crazy. The customers loved it, and it was all organic reach. So I took that information. I said, well, let's use this information and leverage that to get sales through paid reach. And it converted way higher than any of the adult stuff we had. So, taking that, sort of an inference from the data of like, hey, this seems to perform well just alone. Well, let's sort of scale it up and, allow other people to see it more often, and then use that as sort of like a way to sort of hook, line, and sinker customers.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something I tell people all the time. It's like, I have clients that come over and they say, look, I want to be on Facebook. And I'm like, okay, why? What are you looking to achieve on Facebook? Why do you want to boost posts? I mean, what for? I mean, I don't have a problem with the fact that a person wants to boost posts, especially if that person has like amazing organic reach already and wants to, get the ball rolling and everything. That it makes sense to some degree. But others, it just looks like they have like a misconception of what marketing is. Someone told them it looks like. Again, I hope I'm not getting myself in trouble here for saying that, but it looks like someone had told them that they need to pay money to use social media. And,
oh, really?
But I don't think that that's the only way to enjoy social media, in terms of driving leads. I mean, we wrote a book, myself and my partner at the Marketing Frenzy. You say that's a dark marketing right there. Now, we wrote a book and we didn't pay anything to promote it. And we already have over 510 downloads for it or so, considering the fact that no one has really heard of us outside of, a target country, which is Israel. And most of the downloads are from the States.
Interesting.
So people, and I have people that started quoting the book, people telling me, I read the book and I really like this part about branding. I really like this part about social media. I really like this part. And I'm like, I didn't pay money to get it promoted. The question is, why do people automatically opt for paid promotions and instead of trying to do it organically? Try sharing it. I mean, this is what Facebook is trying to do, right?
Yeah.
So
well, I think within all that, I say this to all my clients. I go, well, everything that we're doing is all tests. There's going to be no silver bullets in what we're doing. And if any customer that wants to have me as their marketer that goes, oh yeah, if we do this, this, and this, it's totally going to work this. I go, well, we got to test this out. We got to try it out. We got to do a couple maybe segmentations within the market. We've got to look at different demographics, different responses to certain copy, and then sort of judge it from there. But to sort of say, and I think you've had the experience where people come to you and be like, I heard that Facebook boost posts work the best. I need to be doing that right now. For a moment, let's talk about what your overall mix is. What is your current audience? What's going on right now within your engagement? Then optimize what's going on. I think so many people ignore their warm leads they already have in their funnel and sort of go, well, I got this other market that I really want to approach. Well, are you actually doubling down on what money you could be making from your current market you have?
No.
That's I love your part there where you said people started quoting you. You've created, and I said this earlier about shareability, that you've created a piece of content that people have an emotional reaction to and want to share with other people. And I think that right there is the main key in continuing organic reach. People react to something and it promotes them to go, hey, you as a marketer are smart enough, wise enough, know enough that I want to share about you. So they have a certain trust factor built within that.
No, that is amazing. So I think the main point here is, for everyone that's going to watch this video later on, test, test, test.
Oh yeah, that's the name of the game.
You just have to test. Take the data and, A/B test it, ABCD test it, and just run it through, that sieve, and understand that there is more than one way to look at marketing. There's organic, there's paid, and they could work together. Shouldn't be prioritized. You shouldn't prioritize one over the other.
Yeah.
That's the main point.
Yeah.
So, Luke, thank you.
I'll say one thing, sort of within that.
Sorry.
I had a conversation with a developer last night about this, and I said any good business doesn't have a single stream of income. They're taking angles from multiple pieces to actually create that income. So a perfect example is in e-commerce. You better be capturing either Facebook messages from them or capturing their email at the end of a purchase cycle so that you can remarket to them down the line those products again. So as you sort of scale that revenue up of new customers, you have this base of already loyal buyers that you can remarket to. So then you're guaranteeing a certain percentage of your revenue is always going to be reoccurring. So that, it's like, boom, then you've got two separate income streams. Okay, then you start doing a different marketing through Pinterest rather than Facebook. All right, then you start generating leads from that. You capture those, you segment them, and you put them in a different bucket. And then you eventually scale up each one of these things, and then you've got 5 or 6 different income streams that create a very healthy business and a very predictable business. Anybody who sort of feels like that you can just do one channel and be done, it does exist, but I would say that's the exception to the rule than anything else.
Most probably. Okay, Luke, so thank you for your time today. This has been an eye-opener, probably. And again, I was tapped out very early, which means that this was very, just a very flowing conversation. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And hopefully we could work together, or maybe you write some cool pieces, about organic versus paid, how they might work together and things like that.
For sure. I'm planning on doing actually weekly videos here soon on LinkedIn, and I'm going to be writing a lot more as I'm outsourcing more parts of my business. I want to have more time to produce content and talk about things that I've worked on and things that I've learned. But it's taking time to get to that point. So I'm excited that 2018 is going to involve a lot of that.
Sounds great.
For sure, man.
Okay. Thanks.
All right, take care. Later.
Bye.